So you want to get into emulation but you don't know how? Well, I'm going to give you some essential top tips to get you started. What can you play emulation on? Well, you can play it on mobile, retro handhelds, PCs, even original consoles. Yes, did you know that the PlayStation 1 can actually emulate Super Nintendo Entertainment System going all the way up to the Xbox Series X? That is a really good emulator for the PlayStation 2. So there's a vast amount of different ways you can emulate. What is Scraper? Well, Scraper makes your life so simple. It takes a bunch of ROMs that you've got and it gives you video previews, box art, CD covers and so forth. It's a great bit of software that I would highly recommend downloading. Yes, you do have to sign up for it, but it is free, and that's Scraper. So you're only as good as your tools, that be hardware or software. And I'm going to recommend 3 things you really need when you're getting into emulation. The first one is going to be this. Now this is a micro SD card reader and an SD card reader. It's got your normal USB and this one has a USB Type-C at the end. This is key, especially if you're going to be using retro handhelds to upload ROMs and OSs onto your handhelds. This is the next one. This is an SSD adapter. No, it's not a snake. And this is great because if you've got any SSDs that you like to carry about with you or move from place to place, then this is really ideal to upload your ROMs or download things onto the computer, move things about. It's also great if you do use a PS2 as well and you've got an SSD in that to put your ROMs on that. And the last one is a bit of software. It's called Etcher. It's a formatting device and it's straight to the point. The full name is down below because I can never pronounce it with the link. But this is great for formatting SD cards with new OSs for your retro handhelds, or even just formatting the device so you can put ROMs onto it. It works with any hard drive and SD cards, micro SD cards, so you're pretty much set to go. Now this may seem trivial, the next one, but we need to talk about memory. This is key in any emulation because what you don't want to happen is you're not able to put your favorite games on that device. I would always recommend something like for a micro SD card 256. The same again for an SSD, maybe 250. You could even go up to 1 terabyte if you're just using a general hard drive. Now, yes, I'm not going to tell you where you can get them from, but I am going to tell you something that's pretty neat that you can do. Now, I've got a library going all the way back to Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And you can't put cartridges or your PS2 CDs in retro handhelds. It just ain't going to happen without a lot of modification. But what you can do, you can actually get some hardware that's out on the market and this will rip your original ROMs so you then can back them up and put them over to the device you want to play on. One site I will recommend though is romhacking.net. Now, no, I'm not teaching you how to hack. That's not what this site is. The site is basically, let's say if you ever had a game back in the day when something just wasn't right, the devs weren't able to get that fine point and we didn't have internet back in the day to give us a 50 gigabyte update just to make one thing right on the game. Well, this is where this website comes in. People and devs have actually created and fixed some of the issues with the old games. And there's a ton of ROM hacks improving your classic games that you used to play. And they've got some homebrews as well. And these literally could have been passed off as a brand new game. So I'd highly recommend going to check that site out down below. Emulation, this is why we're here. Now there is a vast array of different emulators out there. You've got your all-in-ones like your RetroArch that you can download cores within it, and then you've got your standalones, PCSX2, your DuckStation, Dolphin, and the list goes on. There is a vast array of emulators out there. And pretty much if you're thinking of any console you want to play, there will be an emulator out there for it. If you can't find it on the internet, you can always join the Discord with the link down below and we will be able to help you and point you in the right direction. Just a word of warning, some of the emulators are no longer in development. What that means is you can still use it, but it's not going to have regular updates. A lot of the newer emulators do have updates and they keep bringing new and exciting features out. There's just not one size fits all. There's various different emulators for the same console. So take the PS2, we've got 2 great emulators there. For Nintendo and Wii, there's a vast array of different emulators as well. Frontends, everyone's got their preference, but you've got this big bulky library of ROMs and you want to make it look sleek and you want to be able to find your favorite games instantly without trawling through loads and loads of files. Well, this is where front ends come in. A couple of recommendations are Reset Collection, Dashinu, I think that's how you pronounce it, that's a really good one and that's free. Pegasus is a bit more complex, but it does give you some really good aesthetic results. It's one of my go-to that I use on a regular basis. You've also got Launchbox and Cornops. I use these mainly for my PC emulation, but there is a vast array of other ones out there, so I would highly recommend checking some others out as well. So you want to get that retro feeling of playing that you did back in the day, let's say something like one of the best games of all times on the N64, GoldenEye. But there is a couple of options out there, and you can actually use third-party controllers on your retro handhelds or your emulation, even on your Xbox X series. A couple of them that I would recommend, so if you're just dedicated to N64, I love playing that, so that's why I'm going to highlight it, is the Brawler 64 and this one here. This is the Tribute 64 and it's from Retro Bit. It's a great controller, you can actually use it on your N64 as well wirelessly, or if you just want to use it on your PC, you can do that as well. So it's a great bit of kit, and there's even mods that turn your classic controllers into wireless and Bluetooth controllers. 8-Bit do some great modifications on this, especially for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and also the PS1 controller. And we can't forget about the modding community. They do some amazing things, and one thing I do want to highlight is the Blue Retro. Now this is a little dongle and it lets you connect pretty much any wireless Bluetooth controller, all the way up to Xbox, PS5, PS4, and the list goes on. There is some modifications so it does fit certain devices. I've got one for my PS2 and you can also get one for the N64 and I think the GameCube. So that's just a few tips how to get into emulation. Let me know in the comments down below what you actually use for emulation. Is it PC? Is it a standard old console? Or do you just use your retro handhelds?